Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Cherry Points, the podcast. I know, back for another episode. She just does not stop. No, like seriously, I won't stop. Like always, you can find this podcast across my social media on YouTube, on my Instagram, clips on my TikTok, on my website, just literally everywhere. I am everywhere. So today we're going to talk a little about like gaslighting, manipulation, and dating a narcissist. Things I know all too well about. Now, I know a lot of people like they talk about gaslighting and stuff, but they don't actually know what it means like properly. It's kind of gotten thrown about like a buzzword almost now. And like a lot of people don't actually know what it is. Like the definition of gaslighting is manipulating someone by psychological means into doubting their own sanity. So that's like a fancy way of saying they try and make you doubt your own version of events or your own emotions. So it's like, oh no, that didn't happen. No, like, why are you getting so angry? Like, it's weird that you're getting so upset about this stuff. Like, no, you weren't upset about that. No, like I didn't. No, like that didn't happen. You know, those people, mm, mm, that's gaslighting. If someone does that to you, that is gaslighting. Like, you know, when you say a very factual statement about something that person said or did, and they look you dead ass in the eye and go, no, you're remembering that wrong. That didn't happen like that. This is what actually, no, you're like, we can't trust your memory, only my memory. That's gaslighting. You need to get away from that person. They are no good for you. Fun fact, the term gaslighting actually comes from a film where this man actually uses a gas light to try and make his wife think she's crazy because he keeps like turning it down and she's like why is the gas light, and he's like, it's always been like that, like what are you talking about, like are you okay? And like that's where we get the term gaslight from, an actual gaslight. Now, you may be wondering, like, what is the point of gaslighting? What's the point in making someone feel like that? What's the end game here? And well, I'll tell you, they do it so that you get to a point where you do not trust your own brain, your own gut, your own instincts. You completely rely on them for total clarity on every situation. They have total control of the way you think, the way you feel, like the emotions you express to other people. It is so that they get in your brain and they have more control over you because you can't trust your brain. So like, oh, I better go check with them to make sure this really happened, or like what people are saying to me is like actually what's going on, because I can't trust my brain. Like that's why they do it. It's fucked up, I know. So like gaslighting and manipulation kind of go hand in hand. They are one and the same. Now, gaslighting is a form of manipulation, so someone who is gaslighting you is manipulating you as well. And these are all traits of a narcissist. Now, I have first-hand experience with all of this because for 5.5 years, I was in a relationship with a narcissistic, gaslighting, manipulative, abusive lowlife. Honestly, it was the only part of his life where he was like an actual overachiever in. Like he was physically abusive, emotionally abusive, financially abusive. I mean, he just ticked so many boxes. It's like he was going for some sort of world record. Like he genuinely believed that he could control any situation by means of like gaslighting, manipulation, faking sympathy or empathy for him. Like I mean, he was a classic narcissist. He really did think he was in control of everything and he could like use whatever in his like surrounding to his advantage. Just I mean, so many red flags. He was just sort of obsessed with controlling every aspect of my life. Like, he had me dependent on him financially. He was trying to control who I talked to. Like, he didn't like me spending too much time with family or friends, like without him. He had to be there because he had to like control the conversation, because there was things that, I was just not allowed to talk about. And, when you're with someone, like, there's no reasoning, you just have to leave. That's what that whole relationship taught me. There's no reasoning with it, there's no fixing with it. Once you notice it, you just have to leave. That's it. That's the only way out of that. Like, one story I have as an example of just like how far he and like other narcissists will go to like keep me where he wanted me, like controlled, unaware, and watched. And okay, warning, before I tell this story, boys, you might feel a bit uncomfortable towards the end. If you're a little squeamish, maybe cover your ears. Yeah. So like towards the end of our relationship, around like the last year and a half, I had gotten like a massive blood clot in my leg because of the contraceptive pill. Thanks a lot. And I almost died. Very serious. I was in hospital for like a full week. I couldn't walk for 8 weeks. Like, very big deal, very scary. So while I'm in hospital, he manages to get my Facebook login. Now, this is back in the day when you logged in and out of Facebook on different devices. So he got my login and had like full access to all of my Facebook stuff. And at the time, that was like my main means of like messaging with people. Because, poor students, we don't want to buy credit. Like, pff, serious? No, thank you. So he was in my Facebook and my Messenger, just like deleting and blocking messages from friends he didn't like me having. They were mostly all like my college friends who were scattered all over the country. That, Messenger and like Facebook was the only way I could keep in contact with them. So they were all gone. And I genuinely was sat in a hospital thinking, like, nobody cares that I almost died? Gee, thanks, guys. So I've been like laid up at home for 8 weeks on bed rest, and the only real contact with the outside world I've had like was with my ex, my mom, and my sister. Like, it was like fucking misery. That, like, honestly, that's what it was like. I was in bed completely dependent on him, like no contact with anyone else. It was, and my leg. Yeah, no, so it was misery. I understand that film on a much deeper level. So anyway, a little time goes by and I get a text off of one of my friends, and it's like, hey, this is my new number. I got like a new iPhone so we can use like iMessenger now. Like, you haven't really seemed to be getting my Facebook messages, everything okay? So I was just like, oh, hang on. Like, what Facebook messages? I don't have any Facebook messages from you. And she's like, screenshot these. And I was like, the fuck? They aren't there. Like, what's going on? Like, that's so weird. And like we completely chalked it up to Facebook just being weird. Like, oh, maybe there was a glitch. I don't know, something happened. Like, it was so far from my mind because I had been gaslit that much that it didn't click. It was just, oh, Facebook being weird. Like, lol, almost ruined our friendship. Like, that's the kind of logic I had on it. So like by this point, I was kind of like hobbling around on crutches, like I could kind of walk. So we're like, hey, let's just like meet up, sit down somewhere, get a coffee, just have a catch up. I was like, yeah, no, that sounds like a great idea. Now, when I told my ex this, the first thing out of his mouth was, but Gemma hasn't talked to you in weeks. I mean, let's just start counting the red flags now. Like, there was no, oh, that's so great. She finally got in contact with you to see how you are. So nice that they want to meet up with you again and like hang out. Then your other friends get back in touch. No, none of that. No, like, none. It was straight away. But she hasn't talked to you in weeks. Why would you? Why would you? Why would you start up a conversation with her again? Like, no, no, what? No, no. So I was just kind of like, yeah, no, like Facebook was doing something weird. Like she was sending me all these messages and they just weren't getting through. Shows him the screenshot of the messages. And okay, looking back now, I can recognize the look on his face as like panic and concern. But he just looked like a bit of a deer in the headlights, shook his head and went, oh, yeah, no, that's so weird. Like, yeah. So like the whole week before I was to meet up with my friend, he was like, so what are you and Jem going to talk about? What are you going to do? Like, how long are you going to be? Like, what? Just over and over again. Like, what are you two going to talk about? Where are you going? Like, how long are you going to be? Like, what he's going to do? And it wasn't normal. Like, he was very squirrely the entire week and he just kept fishing and like wanting to know, like, what exactly were we going to do? Were we just going to go like sit and talk for hours, which like would be a problem? Or like, were we just going to go see a movie? Like, what? Like, what? Like what? Like what? And that's what he was like the entire week. Now, in general, he is quite a like fidgety, erratic person anyway. So I didn't read too heavy into it. I kind of was like, well, he's acting a bit weird this week, but like I didn't really acknowledge it that much, you know? I guess what I'm saying is I didn't give the way he was acting like much weight because that's kind of what he's like anyway. So the build up to what happened next didn't seem like out of the ordinary, so I didn't make any connections right away, okay? So like the night before I'm to like meet up with my friend, he starts like complaining about this pain he's getting. Like it's about 8:30 at night and he's like, oh, it's starting to really kill me. Like, oh my God, this is so sore. Like, oh, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, shit, are you okay? And like he'd been fine like the entire day. Like we spent the entire day just kind of sat in the house. He was playing his PlayStation. I was watching something like nothing out of the ordinary. So we were like, oh, where's like what's happening? What's caused this pain? So like he's just like in agony, he's moaning, he's like doubled over. I'm like, "Oh my God, are you okay? Are you okay? Like what's wrong?" I was like, "Where's the pain?" And he goes, "My testicle." What? Yeah, he picked his testicle. Now, a bit of background. When he was younger, he had like a twisted testicle and he had to like get surgery and like have that fixed. So I think he went with testicle because there's like a medical record of it and it would make it seem like more legitimate. I I think was his logic on this. So he's just like my testicle and I'm like, oh shit, okay, like do you want me to ring like the doctor on call because we're like out in the middle of nowhere. And he's like, yeah, ring the doctor on call. So I ring the doctor on call. Doctor on call is like, look, just call an ambulance and get to a hospital so you can have like a proper checkup. I was like, okay, cool. So ring the ambulance. Ambulance on the way. He's there clutching himself and I'm kind of like, okay, shit, what like what do I do? So like I'm panicking a little bit and he's like, it's probably gonna be fine. I'd say they just like keep me in overnight and give me something for the pain and just keep an eye on me. Like maybe do like an ultrasound or something. I'm like, okay, yeah. The ambulance guys come in, they're check him out. They're like, okay, we're gonna take you in. I call my dad so he can like drive me over to the hospital behind the ambulance. So like that's the plan. So I get to the hospital, I find him. Miraculously, the pain is starting to like come and go now, and it's not as strong. So, like, the doc comes around, checks him out, checks his chart, goes, okay, I'll be back in a minute, kind of walks off. We're just kind of expecting like some like drugs, bit of a physical, maybe a scan, and then like we'll be off home. No, no, not not quite. So like Doc comes back and I, well, long story short, they they cut his testicle open. They they cut his testicle open. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. He sure as fuck was not expecting it. I had to like cancel on my friend and yeah, I mean, he got his testicle cut open. So like next day, Doc comes around. He's like, we couldn't find anything wrong. He's like, there's no infection, nothing is twisted. It seems like a perfectly healthy testicle. Like we can't explain it. Now the doc kind of seemed a bit like annoyed, like, why are you wasting my time with surgery when there's nothing wrong, kind of a thing. So he was kind of like pressing for some sort of answer. He was kind of like, well, were you playing sports? Were you doing anything like energetic? Were you like out running? Like what were you doing to cause this pain? Because we couldn't find anything. And like he's just sat there like shaking his head, going, I don't know, I haven't done anything. Like I can't explain it. Because he and I both know the closest thing he got to sport was sitting on the couch playing FIFA. But anyway, Doc is like, look, you're fine, you're perfectly healthy, you can go home now. I'll go and I'll get you discharged. And we're like, right, okay. And I was like packing up his stuff and I was kind of like annoyed because I was like, look, there had to have been something wrong. Like maybe they missed something, like that pain didn't come out of nowhere. Little did I know at the time it actually come out of his imagination. And like the whole time I was on his side, I had no suspicions until we were leaving the hospital and we were walking out and he just comes out with, well, I guess you can't go meet Gemma now. And then the penny dropped and I was like, you did something, didn't you? Like, and I couldn't explain it at the time. I didn't quite know what had happened, but I knew that this was some sort of bullshit. Like, because he always had to let me know in the sneakiest, slyest way possible that he was in control, that he did like something and he was the one in control. So, like, moral of the story is a gaslighting narcissistic abuser would rather have their nutsack cut open than to be caught out on their bullshit. Karma is real though, because 2 days later he got a massive infection in his incision and it caused him a lot of like real genuine pain. He was hospitalized again. I mean, that's karma. Like, I think we all just need to be more aware of how far like an abusive gaslighter will take a thing. Like, and I mean that across the gendered spectrum. Like, I know a lot of men who have been in relationships who were abused but weren't believed because, air quotes, women aren't like that. Yeah, okay. Okay, can we drop that attitude, please? Yeah, thank you. Listen, if you're with someone who you've questioned multiple times, who you've caught out in lies multiple times, who you've like suspected of things multiple times, and then something happens, and you're like, for a minute, you're like, oh, did they do that? Did they do something? And then you go, no, no, they wouldn't go that far. Yes, they would. They absolutely fucking would. Like, they did the thing, okay? Just, they did it. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this podcast today. I hope you like got something from it. I hope you like got a little bit more information or just, it made you feel less alone knowing that other people have gone through what you've gone through. And I hope no one felt too squeamish about the whole testicle story. I still kind of can't believe, like, he had an appendix. Like, he could have just, you know, he could have just went with the appendix. I don't, yeah. So I hope everybody is having a great day. You've had a good week so far and you're staying safe and you're staying healthy. Love you.